Also today, it's a big day. The long-awaited final report into the Grenfell Tower fire inquiry. It's going to be published later this morning. Now, for families and survivors who lost loved ones in that devastating fire more than 7 years ago, and who can forget those scenes? It's been an agonising wait in their fight for justice. Meanwhile, thousands of people are still living in homes with flammable cladding and other fire safety defects across the country and here in Greater Manchester. Now, Darren Matthews has a flat in Salford and is here with us in the studio now. Thank you for popping in and saying hello.
Good morning.
Just tell us then about your building.
My building is 13.5 metres tall. We are owned by a housing association. They are our freeholders. We have been billed previously for £101,000 per apartment for remedial work, which included fire compartmentation, missing fire breaks, etc., and to replace the cladding.
£101,000 per flat?
Yes.
And it's a housing association flat?
Yes.
How on earth do you begin to afford that? I'm guessing nobody can.
At the time we were billed, it was not covered by the Fire Safety Fund. We were told initially that the option available to us would be to get a loan, which would have cost £50 a month interest bearing, which would have taken 143 years to repay. Not feasible. Since then, campaigns have taken place. The government have introduced some measures which mean now freeholders, housing associations, developers, etc. are now responsible for making payment and for the remedial work.
So is this still the case then? It's on your head to pay for this to be removed? It's on their head
now. In the situation that we're in, we've been offered a partial remedial work, not to the scale that they initially planned. Partial remedial work which includes fire alarms, sprinkler systems, not taking the building back to the brick which they initially planned. It's, in our view, a short-term measure, not a full-scale repair, and we're still left in a way in limbo in unsafe homes.
So as it stands, do you still have unsafe cladding?
Yes.
What effect does that have on you?
It takes over your life. Man's basic needs, food, clothing, shelter. We've not got safe homes. It impacts on everything. Work, home, relationships, day-to-day living. It encompasses everything that you do.
A lot of people may think, well, just sell it. But who wants to... Your apartment, well, it's a housing association one in this instance, but, you know, for other people who live in cladded homes, they're effectively worth zero, aren't they? Because no one wants to buy them.
The apartment isn't worth the paper that the deeds are written on at the moment.
Yeah.
We've been promised when remedial work takes place, they will issue a form to allow us to sell, to say that the apartments are safe. But who in their right mind would want to buy an apartment that is only partially safe, that still has any number of defects underneath the shell?
The Grenfell tragedy happened 7 years ago.
I cannot imagine the impact on those people's lives, and initially I used to think, oh my God, how do those people cope? Now, in real terms, we're living it on a daily basis. We haven't had the loss of life, fortunately, but we are at the risk of fire, and fire doesn't discriminate. Fire can happen at any time, and we are now as unsafe now as we were 4 or 5 years ago, 20 years ago when the building was developed.
It feels like the conversation has disappeared somewhat. It's almost like you need something disastrous to happen to put it in the forefront of people's minds.
News is quite transient and things move on and other things take priority in people's lives, and rightly so, but we're living with this on a daily basis and we've got to cope with it, and we're very thankful that media do carry the flag forward for us and continue with the story. But we need government, we need developers, we need everybody to take account and take responsibility for what's happened. It isn't just the last Tory government, it's consecutive governments. It's changing job roles within the building industry, and it's a lack of accountability. We are the only innocent parties in this matter at the moment. In the motor industry, if you buy a car that is defective, it's recalled by the manufacturer, put right and returned to the owner, and rightly so, but that isn't happening within the housing industry. There's a complete lack of accountability, there's a lack of ownership, there's a lack of responsibility that we've got in this country, which is completely different to a system that was installed in Australia by Ted Baillieu, the Premier of Victoria State. He made sure when they had housing issues that the government and the building industry took ownership, dealt with it, and liaised with leaseholders, householders, of when the repairs should take place, not hounding them for funding, fees and payment the way that we've had in the UK. There needs to be a complete rethink, deal with the matter and allow us to move on.
What would you like to see published today in the report, in the findings, the recommendations?
I would like some respect paid to the victims. I would like an apology for the victims and their families, because it's absolutely dreadful. I'd like to see people held accountable. I'd like to see people holding their hands up and saying, yes, we are sorry for the way that we've behaved. We'll put right what we've done wrong and we'll compensate to try to help people move forward.
Darren, it's been really good to chat to you, and I wish it was under better circumstances. And I know that today must feel very triggering as well. So I hope that you get through it together. And I imagine that in your housing block, it feels like a community in this as well.
We are very much a small community.
Yeah.
But we are completely together.
Well, that's good to hear. Darren, it'd be great to keep in touch with you as well.
Thank you for your time.
Darren Matthews there, who has a housing association flat in Salford. It's covered in cladding and it's still there today, 7 years since the Grenfell tragedy.